Hello everyone, this is Mr. LeBlanc. I'm going to be walking you through the steps in assembling an American flag like you see here in the center of my screen. If you follow the directions properly to create a non-shape account, it should take you to a screen similar to this. Yours should be pretty much blank. I've got a lot of stuff in it from prior projects. But what you'll do is you'll navigate to teams. You should only have one team in here. Product development, and then within this flag folder, when you open this up, you're going to want to then create a new document. Title this your last name, flag, and that's going to open you to your part studio where you would create parts. In this class, we're not going to go into creating parts, but I am going to walk you through an assembly. So I've already made the parts. You get to put them all together. So on the bottom tabs, you might have a whole string of these with all different parts and assemblies. We can just go to that first assembly here. All right, this dot in the middle is the center of our coordinate system. It's kind of like if you were putting something together on a workbench, this would be like your starting point or your flat surface that you'd be working off of. We're going to start by hitting the insert drop down. Going to other documents, and this should appear, American flag with all the different parts. You can see there's going to be a ton of them with all the different stars and stripes that I made. But we can go ahead and take majority of the parts right from this first one right here. So I'm going to click on this and just position it. I'm going to position it somewhere behind that dot just to give myself a little bit of room. And then make sure you check that off, otherwise it might disappear. If it does disappear, just go back to insert, find those parts again, and pop them in your document. All right, so we're going to start out with doing something a little bit different. We're going to select this backing piece and all the stars, and we're going to group them together. Otherwise, when we move this around, some of the parts may move independently, and that's definitely not what we want here. So I'm going to go ahead and left click and drag over my stars. If you do select the stripe, you can hold down shift. I thought you could do shift. Try this again. Straighten this out. I did make these a little bit close together. But all I want to do is try to highlight just the stars and stripes here. All right, a little bit easier. If you're missing anything, you can hold down shift and click on the other things. So you're probably better off just selecting a portion of it and then adding those things. It's more difficult to subtract them. All right, they should all highlight orange. And what we're going to do here is we're going to group all of these items together. All right, so you can see all those stars are going to be joined with the rectangle. Okay. Now we want to use some of these assembly tools. With this, the only one we're going to use is a Fastenmate. There's all kinds of different ones, Revolute, Slider. You can make a lot of different mechanical items that will actually, gears will intersect with each other and it will rotate certain revolutions with the teeth count and things like that. But we're just going to use this Fastenmate tool. All right, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to flip this around and I'm going to take a look at the back side of this flat block. Okay, you can see that it highlights it. There's a rectangle around it. And then there's a couple of coordinates. You got this blue, green, and red. This is the center point of the back. So I'm going to click on that. You'll see that it shows up here. If I did select the wrong thing, I could exit. And then what I'm going to do is click on this center coordinate system. And that blue line, as long as it's pointing in towards the same direction. So in this case, my right. If I click on that, it's going to take the back of that board and that center point that I selected and that coordinate system center, and it's going to snap those two together and fasten them together. Okay, it's going to default, and it's going to basically select whatever you did last again, which is going to be helpful. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to take a white stripe, and I'm going to select this top corner. I'll zoom in so you can see exactly what I'm looking at here. So this little point right here, and I'm going to line that up with the front bottom corner right here. And that's going to align those two parts together. You'll check that off if it looks good. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and grab, same thing, the top of that red stripe, and pop that right onto that and check that off. All right. Now I'm going to start assembling the small pieces. So I'm going to grab this small corner here. Sometimes it's a little bit difficult to work with, so just be patient. And by clicking on these corners, it should align all my stripes together. All right, this other piece here is going to be the backing. We're going to use that at the very end. We've got all the parts assembled except for this backing piece, which we'll use at the very end. So I'm going to need some additional parts to recreate all the stripes. So when I created the parts, I didn't just keep drawing more and more. You can just duplicate them or reuse them. So you'll go back into your part studio. You could pull this out and then delete pieces, or you could scroll all the way down to the bottom. I can't see quite everything down here. So I'm actually going to do a search for the white stripes. I'm going to lay these out, just kind of space them out a little bit. And what I'm going to need is 6 down below and 7 shorter ones up above. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then one more large one. So that should give me 6. And then I have 2 above there, so 2, 3. 4. Need one more of these. 5. 6. And 7. All right. Make sure you check that off. If you do hit the X, everything's going to disappear. I've made that mistake multiple times. Make sure you check that off and they'll stay in there for you. All right, then we're just going to continue to assemble. Again, just taking those corner points I think is the easiest, but there are different ways you could do it. Check those off as you go. All right, and your flag should look intact. We are going to add a couple of the backing pieces on the back, and I'm going to show you a different way of assembling. So for this one, we're using a Fasten-Made again. I'm going to zoom in on the top surface of this rectangle of that backing piece. I'm going to grab the direct center of this, and I'm going to center this with the top of the stars rectangle. And you can see that it places it right in the center. It did exactly what I asked it to do, but now I'm going to have to do something called offset. So I'm going to click here on offset, and you can see there's an X, Y, and Z axis. And if I move it on the Y axis, I should be able to get this so it's not inside of my flag, but on the outside. So I know that my pieces are 1/2 inch thick. I'm sorry, 1 inch thick, so I'm going to move it 1/2 inch out. And that should stick my piece right to the end. I'm going to do the exact same thing by inserting that backing piece and then using the fasten mate. And I'm just going to grab the center of this stripe here. Okay, you can see that it's right in the center also. So I'll offset that 1/2 inch to the outside. That's it. Good job. I hope yours looks just like mine. Make sure that you did create that in that folder so I can take a look at it. If not, there are some ways you can share it with me. But this will be part of your assignment to turn in.